Recording now. So I'm super excited for the 1,000 download of my podcast to have Dr. Lulu, or you also called Momatrician, on Facebook. I don't know, which one do you prefer? Do you have a preferred one?
Both of them are registered trademarks. I own the trademarks for both of them, so I'm good with either one.
Okay, so last time we talked on the podcast was in December 2023, and you were about to move. So do you want to tell us a little bit what happened since in your life? What's new? What do we need to know about Dr. Lulu?
I mean, I don't think anyone has enough time except maybe God to squeeze in. I don't even have enough time to squeeze in what's going on in my life. But I did move. This is my new apartment. I'm happily living in Midtown Atlanta, which I love, absolutely love so much. This is my mirror that got broken, but I decided to leave it broken, even though I could fix it. But I like the fact that it's imperfect because nobody is perfect. So I love that mirror. Cost a fortune. And then when they brought it, they didn't had it right and it got split down the middle. So I brought it and I'm gonna keep it like that. Otherwise, I'm loving it. Tomorrow, actually, this weekend marks my 6 months of living in Atlanta, Georgia, and I can't even tell you all the things that have happened in 6 months. It's been just mind blowing. If you just put your mind to it, the things will happen. So yeah, mainly coming out as pansexual, switching over from parent coaching to just gender and sexuality as an umbrella coaching, doing a lot more TV, a lot more writing, freelance writing. My book is finally, oh my God.
I was going to say, yeah, I was going to mention your book. Yeah. Okay.
And then this one is going to drop in September. And then, I mean, I'm just, oh my goodness, I can't even.
We'll link to your socials and website, whatever. We'll add them in the description of this video on YouTube so people can find you if they need the support. But you were also going to open a clinic. Has that happened? Is that still on the cards?
Yeah, I mean, my clinic is in existence. And I had a talk with myself about it. I said, yeah, but so whatever happened to my place? And I said, wait, what you're doing is part of the clinic. Dr. Lulu's Pride Corner is the name of my practice.
Okay.
Dr. Lulu's Coaching and Consulting Lounge is what's registered, is what's registered with the business, right? But under that is Dr. Lulu's Pride Corner. And really, all of the stuff I'm doing is my Pride Corner. I had to realize that while I wanted it for, you plant the seeds and you want them to grow, yay, so. And then the sun and cosmic dust and the universe says, we want it to grow this way. And what you do is you just keep planting, you just keep pouring the water and loving on the plants, and it just keeps growing. So I haven't really sat down and said, okay, this patient or this family belongs to this bucket. No, because everything has been just like a continuum. And it's just so beautiful to watch it. Because I was thinking about it the other day, because I go running every morning and every evening. And the other morning I was like, whatever happened to your parents? I said, wait, everything I'm doing is part of Dr. Lulu's Pride Corner. The podcast is part of my Pride Corner. The speaking engagements, oh my God, everything, the TV appearances, the book, they're all really part of the Pride Corner, which are also under the coaching and consulting lounge, because that's what I'm doing. And I just likened it to a mom who was like, I wanted my son to become an architect. But really what he's doing is designing homes, right? Maybe not as an architect, but maybe designing neighborhoods or something, but it brings him so much joy. I have to see my child as who they are, not who I wanted them to be, because my idea was to have this practice where people would just come and do it this way, but it's bigger. And I like that because I used to think I was a lesbian when I was 11. Then I thought I was bisexual. And then a few weeks ago, I was like, wait, I'm pansexual. So if I can grow like that, then why not my business? So my business is actually mirroring or paralleling me and my growth. So it's been beautiful to watch it, actually. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. It's very precious to me to be able to witness you and promote your work. But I know that you have this coaching practice, but you're also a medical doctor. So how does that come into it? Um, can you practice medicine where you are? Are you able to help possibly people with transitioning if that's what they, and we probably should talk about that a bit, like more gender, because I want to dig into the gender issue in this interview.
So that's a good question. And I think it's also part of what we're just talking about. I just finished my weekly session with my coach. And I said, I really, really see myself as a speaker, as an educator. But the beautiful thing about it is I said to myself, I'm going to retire from medicine. And I had a whole party and I had a whole stethoscope
Yeah,
hanging up ceremony is what I called it. People
I remember
came, we
that.
ate, we danced, it was so good. On Monday, I saw patients at the clinic.
Okay.
Last week, I did 4 days and I saw patients. And I realized that, yes, while I'm planning it this way, the universe is like, no, I actually need you to do it this way. And while I'm seeing patients, I'm also servicing gender diverse kids in the clinic just for being there. Like I met two kids and I wrote about them recently. Both kids are Black males. One was affirmed and the other was not affirmed. And the difference was clear when each one walks into the room, the energy with which they walked into the room. The kid who was affirmed was just like, he just strutted into the room, it's all his fabulousness. And the kid who was not affirmed was just like sitting on the chair, just wringing his
Looking
fingers and sort
down.
of crying. Yeah, but both kids are LGBT, both kids are, and I was able to meet each kid. And I was like, I cannot leave medicine because I'm still doing the work of God. Now, I've toned it all the way down. I've just done 4 days in the month of July. That's probably all I'm going to do for the month of July. But for every minute that I'm with the patients, I am being all of me there. So it's so beautiful to watch and just really the universe kicking me in the butt and saying, will you just let me do my thing? I'm like, okay, I need to just back off a little bit. So I'm loving it. I'm loving all of it.
Yeah, and I was reflecting on this because we've just had some elections in the UK where a lot of the trans hate has come up, and it's made me reflect on the fact that the world is still not a safe place for the LGBTQIA plus community. And in a way, not that I have to decide anybody's business, but it's almost like I feel that LGBT professionals need to also be there for the people who don't have allies in that particular area. So I'm loving that you're still doing medicine because in the UK, for example, the services, the medical services for trans or LGBT people is appalling. And the vast majority of doctors are not LGBT. They're part of the binary that we're going to talk about in a minute as well. And the old paradigm, very religious based as well. So, the more people like you, the better, really, so that people can find their tribe, but within the people who are here to help them as well, if that makes any sense.
I think I'll push back just a little gently to say that while it's okay, it's not for everyone. It is exhausting, and people should remember to have self-care. As a mother of my child, my kid is not in the limelight. You'll probably not see a picture of me and my child again because first of all, I live here, they live over there in a different. I mean, that said, even as queer people, we must also remember to get our self-care. So first of all, self-advocacy, radical self-love, radical self-compassion first, even before you go into the world, because I want you to do all of your advocacy out of the abundance of your own self-advocacy, your own self-love. I say that because I started wandering into the dating world. And I went and I'm online and apparently Facebook has a dating site. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go check it out. And I have seen the kind of toxicity in the cisgender man that I knew was there, but this is the next level. Like some of them say, please, absolutely no men, you know, like it, like they feel like, and they put it in caps. Everything is regular letters, and then boom, no transgenders, no transformers. No, if you're a man, don't come to me. I don't hate you, but just don't be about. I'm not about that, and all the things. And I'm like, why do they have it? Why do they feel like they need to make that announcement? And so I now decided to match their energy. So on my page, I put absolutely no homophobes. If you're homophobic, swipe left. I want them to know. They come and say, oh, you look so pretty. I love your picture. I said, did you read my profile? Yes. So you see that I don't do homophobes, right? It's important that you know that, oh, yeah. So when we come with man of God, I say, listen, I don't do religion. So if you have your man of God, I need to take it to somewhere else. Show me you're a man of God with your actions. I don't care how loud you scream that you're a man of God. I need to see you acting that way. So it's like I'm pushing back because they have it all over the place. They're so homophobic. So in my mind, I decided to choose what to focus on, because we have to always learn how to focus. So I focus on those who are not having the need to declare that they're Christians or declare that they're not homophobes. I feel like that's where the substance is, because their focus is on something on me, for instance, as an example, right? Focusing on the person that you want to attract on the site, not the person you don't want to attract, right? And they're making a big deal of it. Because I was like, they feel the need to make such a big announcement on their profile that they're not that they're not gay. Why? Could they maybe be gay? Because a lot of times the worst homophobes are closeted. I know, because I used to be like that.
Yeah.
Just to let people know that that doesn't impress me. And if that works for you, by all means, do you. But I will push back a little bit, because I want to know, wait, well, why do you feel a need to make an announcement about it? One guy even went as far as telling me, well, I don't know, I'm not gay, but I just feel like, they just walk up to me and speak to me, you know? And then he said, and when we push back, they call it hate crime. And I was like, how do you push back? How do you propose to push back that somebody will call it a hate crime? What are you doing? Like, like, what are you thinking? Are you planning on doing to someone? Said hello. Do you know how long cisgendered men have been whistling at women? Do you know how long you've been catcalling women? Do you know how long you've been doing that? Even on this site, you saw pictures of you exercising, or pictures of your DICK. Do you know how long you've been doing that? What if women push back? Like, will you call it hate crime? I just realized that he had no concept of what he's doing. So it's just interesting to watch people do this. So I know that the homophobia is not going away anytime soon. So I decided to focus on those who are not homophobic, those who actually want to talk about weather or politics or sports, other things. Because there's much more than my child's gender, and much more than my pansexuality about me. If you're focusing on my pansexuality, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're going to miss all the other beauty that I have to offer, if that makes any sense. I don't know where that came from, but
And I like that you're talking about pushback, and especially the self-care that you mentioned at the start, because you're completely right. Nobody should put any pressure on any member of the LGBTQI community to be an activist or to do anything for anyone. This is so important. No, I agree. Because I can see they have enough to deal with yeah, I know what you mean. So I still would like to talk with you about gender, because I don't think we've talked about it during the episode. And I think it's a very important, especially in the context of spirituality. And I'll explain to you a little bit more about it and how I think that has a big impact. But what would you say, what is your definition, Dr. Lulu, of gender? And why should spiritual folks be more careful around that concept? That's my next question for you.
I don't know the second part of the answer. I do know the first part. And I don't have my own definition of gender. I just know the definition of gender. Like if anybody Googled gender identity, and I like that we're talking about gender. So let's go. There are three parts underneath the big umbrella of the word gender. The first part is gender as a role that we play, which is what society, it's a construct by society that women should have long hair, men should wear pants. For some reason, they think women should wear pink, or men should wear blue, or women should cook food and be homemakers. Men should go out and bring the money. So that's gender role. That's a society that doesn't exist because there are Scottish men who wear skirts, and there are Nigerian men who tie wrappers, and there are women all over the world who go out and work, and men who stay at home and take care of the babies. So again, that's just a construct. So that's the first arm of gender. The second arm of gender is gender identity. Gender identity is a personal, deep, internal sense of who you are on the spectrum of male on one end, female on the other end, both in the middle, or neither, right? Which is where the non-binary people come in. And then both is where the two spirit people or the bi-gender people come in, right? Or just in the spectrum, which is gender queer, gender fluid. And my own father swears that I am probably gender fluid because of the way I act. My father said that. He said, you just have such a manly spirit in as much as I'm a woman. So to extrapolate, I could easily be two-spirit, but I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm a girl, right? So gender identity is how you feel, which should never be confused with gender expression, which is how I manifest my girlity or girlhood or girlness, if there's such a word, right? I want to have a haircut. I want to wear skirts. Maybe I want to wear shorts today. And maybe I want to have earrings. Maybe I don't want to have earrings. Maybe I want to have a nose, all the things. Maybe I want to walk softer. I want to swing my hips. I want to move my wrist this way. Expression of my inner sense of self, which I think should probably, maybe the spiritual thing you're talking about, I wanted to say something else. I was going to say, which I think is what puts a lot of gender diverse people in danger. I say that because as long as I don't tell you, Anj, that I am non-binary or transgender, I'm not in danger of you as a transphobe killing me or hitting me or bullying me, all the things, right? And so I say that Next Benedict is no longer living today because Next dared to tell someone else that they were non-binary, right? So gender identity is you coming out to yourself. Now you can also tell someone your gender identity. Like, because it's a personal thing, you cannot tell me that I'm not gender. You as Anj cannot tell me I'm not transgender because it's how I feel. I cannot tell you, Anj, that you're not cisgender because I don't know how you feel. So that's gender identity. Unfortunately, because of transphobia, when people now begin to express their gender, people now say, well, why does he have to dress like that? Why does he have to talk like that? Why can't he be more rigid and more? And then they become in danger of somebody wanting to just kill them because they just don't like them, right? So that's gender expression, being able to manifest.
And that's level 3, right? Of the 3 levels you were describing.
That's the third one. Being able to manifest outwardly that which you already feel on the inside. I say those 3 things because those are official. Now, here's what's the problem. In today's world, when we have a baby, we assign the baby their gender identity. We,
Yeah.
outside world, doctors, parents, we say to you, Anj, you are a girl. But that is based on their genitalia. So I call that a genital identity. Now, that's Dr. Lulu's original. I coined that word. Like it belongs to me, the phrase. The genital identity is what parents assign their kids to. Because now we know that gender identity is, I'm the only one that can tell you that. So if parents cannot tell a newborn baby. Does that make sense?
To me, complete sense, because I've been through that journey, because I love some people whose gender identity do not match their genital identity,
Genital.
as you just
Thank
said
you.
now. But it's been a long journey for me to understand the difference, because it was so ingrained in my
Yes.
culture, in the religion I grew up in, which also happens to be misogynistic, so that doesn't help.
Tell me about it. I want to
um,
guess that it's probably the same one that I grew up in, and I've been recently poking holes in it. And I can talk about mine because I can. I was raised Catholic. I'm a cradle Catholic, and I'm so proud of myself that a couple of weeks ago I was in Dayton, Ohio, at a conference titled Imago Dei, meaning the image of God, and they gave me the responsibility to give a talk in a workshop titled Reconciling Race, Culture, Religion, and Queer Identity. And I didn't think in my lifetime that I'll ever do something like that. And that opened up so many doors for me. And I realized, wait, when you look in the mirror, if you're unable to see the image of God looking back at you, you missed the mark. Because God is not going to come from the sky and say, this is me. No, we already have each other to see the image of God in. So whether you see God as a white male, which is what my father's idea of God is, a white male. And I said, Daddy, so do you realize that the white man who told you, who came to colonize Nigeria and told you that God is white, do you realize that he's right? He's right because God, for him, made in his image, is white. But for me, as a Black immigrant woman, my God is Black. Like, hello. And then why should anybody who is right thinking limit God to one dimension?
No, I completely agree with that. And even with the gender,
Even with the
some
gender,
people
yes.
some people have also claimed that God was female rather than male. And we had this discussion, I think, in December, that where you said you thought that God was actually non-binary.
Non-binary.
And
I said it then. But also, one of the beautiful things about it is the fact that it's fluid. I mean, God is without form or void. God
yeah.
has no shape. We don't know that there's
Mhm.
even a God. But what we do know is that we have each other that we can see. And so, yes, if there was God as a living being, I would argue that God might be, at the very least, is what I usually say, non-binary. But that's because in my small mind, I'm making God human. What if God is a tree? What
Yeah.
if God is in animals? Did God not create those animals again in their image and likeness or her image and likeness? So what if God is all of those things?
I think I
And
can
then
hear, yeah, all of it, not
some.
just
And so since
non-binary. Yeah,
December,
that's
I've
really
shifted
fun.
now to actually God is, yes, yes. And a woman, and for you, Ange, your God is a white French woman. And
No,
isn't that even
it's
more
not actually.
beautiful? I thought you were French. I don't know. But
I
are
know,
you
yeah,
French? I
yeah.
don't know.
I am French.
Okay.
I am white. I
Yeah.
am cis, and I identify with the female gender. But for
Yeah.
me, God is the purest form of energy that transcends all races,
That even has
creeds,
no form or
culture.
void. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. No, I was using it as you, like you aren't as an individual, like a
I
person, as
understand.
opposed to, yeah. So because I want people to realize that when you look in the mirror, I need you to see the face of God as you. I want us to begin there so that we can begin
Yeah,
to love who we see in the mirror. Because at least you have that person, you can control that person, you can control what they think best more than anyone else. Before you tell anybody else what God is like, what is God to you? And I think that that is the answer to all the questions. And I love that you said God has no shape or form or void. And I talked to my dad for 3 hours. 3 hours. Do you know what we decided in the end? Both of us decided to agree to disagree.
hmm, that's
Because my
beautiful.
father, yeah, because my father says, no, there's one God and he's like, and I said, Daddy, but you keep going with he.
Yeah.
Why do you have to keep going with he? So it was a beautiful conversation. I loved it. But
Hmm.
yeah. So
I
what
think
you
that
asked
there's
me.
a yeah, for me, there's something that's made me uneasy. I was always uneasy with it, but it's become more prominent since I suppose launching my podcast and talking a lot about this is that in a lot of spiritual circles, not even religious, that it's all about women's circle and men's circle and the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and it's still the binary model. And I was
So
thinking, uh, because as I said, I love some non-binary people in my life who are very close in my inner circle. Where would they go? They don't have a space in there. And so that's why I was saying at the end of my question, why should spiritual folks be more careful around these concepts? It's because for me, and that's from an outsider looking in, because I'm not affected directly by it, but it feels exclusive. It doesn't feel inclusive.
yes, but just like
Mm,
religion is the most exclusive, that's not the word, excluding. Oh, well, no, that's is the most non-inclusive, I think is
yeah,
what I want to say.
yeah,
Um, but that's because it's man-made,
I agree.
and therefore it's fallible, because man by nature is fallible, is not perfect. And so I am so proud of myself being able to rid myself of the shackles of religion as a cult, really, because that's
Mm,
what that is. And able to just see that even you, we are bigger and more. Uh, what we can do is so much more, right? And why limit ourselves to our genitalia?
mm. No, I completely agree. And I found, even though I still identify as female, as a child, I actually left church at 12 years old because I did not like the way the Catholic Church described my gender, assigned it a role which was inferior to men always.
You see,
And yeah, no, absolutely. And we were supposed to be procreators and serving
the man is
man.
above, is the head of the house, the women is
Yeah,
beneath, and such as that.
yeah.
Why can't we
So
just be equal? I had to
I didn't
rejoin that. I
even,
had to rejoin
yeah,
that to the bishop. And I gave to my mom to mail it. It was an editorial. My mom said she mailed it. I don't think she mailed it, because I kept saying, Mom, when is the bishop going to respond to my thing? I wanted to know why women were not allowed to wear their adorn their doggone vestments. So I was like, you. It's like,
yeah. And so you don't even have to be LGBT to feel the bad energy around that binary model. That's I
mm,
and I loved I was watching a series. I think I mentioned I loved Queer Eye when it came out, but also I
yeah,
followed a little bit Jonathan Van Ness. He had a very specific episode on when are we going to ditch the non-binary, and some people
love
like
it.
him, some people don't. But what I really love about what he said was that this topic does not only affect LGBT or the trans community; it affects everyone, because the binary model is harmful even to men, not even just women. It's harmful to everyone because there's all these stereotypes. It's like shackles. You can't really be yourself. And I would like to invite both the spiritual communities and the religious communities to look at it from a completely different angle.
I love it. I love the direction that this is going. And again, this all came from this talk that I gave. And I was kicking and screaming. I was like, I don't want to give this talk. And I told the gentleman who told me to, I said, I just want you to know that I'm triggered the entire time. And the whole time, again, come back, because I am not an atheist. I believe in God. God kept saying, girl, I got you. If you would just lean in, I got you. Do you know that my workshop ended up being a standing room only? Like every chair was filled. They had 4 workshops back to back at the same time. Everyone was at my workshop.
Wow. And
And
Dr.
we talked
Lulu,
about,
is it
yeah,
possible for people to watch it? Is there a replay somewhere, or is
I
it
don't think it
no,
is.
it's not going to happen, is
I don't
it?
think it was recorded. Here's why. Because again, these are a group of Catholics who are LGBT who found a safe space. I don't even think we could take pictures. There's a little clip of me talking about toxic masculinity, which was one of the things that came out, which, as you know, one of the things that came out of religion is toxic masculinity, misogyny, the patriarchy, all the things. And and so you might hear voices of the people, but they're not photographed. I did do a quick clip, like I just went around a quick sweep, and they kind of said, "We love trans kids," with like 3 seconds, but I wasn't allowed to like show that because people are not feeling it.
No,
People
of
are getting
course.
tired by their bishop for attending the
Yeah.
conference. So
Yeah.
it was
No, obviously.
was
Are
appropriately
you
done
planning maybe to
to
do
do it.
a
Yes, yes.
webinar on the same topic that people could subscribe? I mean, I'm not saying that you should. Absolutely
I
not.
think
But
that's a good idea.
you talk about it with such passion, Dr. Lulu, that it makes me want to watch this thing, or want to hear you talk about this.
I love it.
Um,
Thank you for that. That's a great idea. I have been invited by 2 other bodies. In fact, yesterday I got invited by a Jewish person here who says she knows a synagogue in town that will love to hear the conversation. And you see, and I wasn't even talking to them. I just present the slide, and then they broke out into discussion groups. That was what the entire workshop. We had like 12 of those. I just introduced the slide, and I said, break out into your groups and then talk about it. And then something amazing came out of that. This lady, when we talked about culture, she got up and said, I'm a cis white woman, such and such and such and such. And I've never had to think about this before, but I just realized that we always say, white people, that we don't have any culture, but we have a culture, and our culture is a culture of hate. And I was like, wow. And she said she's never, like, all the bad things. I mean, I think it was just a moment for her, obviously, but she just felt like all the bad things came from hatred from white people. And I told her, I said, I appreciate you doing that, but more importantly, I want you to, what will you do differently? Because this place was not for you to beat yourself up. I appreciate you wanting to do that. What will you do differently?
and
After you,
Yeah, this is so important. It's fun as well because we left the episode in December about us wondering if there was an opening within religious circles to have more inclusivity, and you found your patch, which is absolutely amazing. And then I also found out that since then, the first trans priest has been ordained in the Church of England in the UK.
you said that
And I think that's just, it's going in the right
beyond
direction. I
amazing.
just
Yeah.
but then it still doesn't show to LGBTQIA plus people where it's safe to go within the church. And I would love for
Yeah.
it to be more more universal, or at least that there's like a map that's made for your own community where you say you can go here, you can go here, you'll be safe. And I actually interviewed a reverend. She's in Virginia, so I'm not sure. Virginia is quite close to you, isn't it? And
No,
no, not that close.
no,
And
but
she said, we
I want to.
absolutely welcome LGBT people. They're safe in our church. And I was like, hallelujah, literally,
Well,
hallelujah.
it must be a Unitarian Universalist church. That's the church that is open. And then the Methodist Church is going, and the United Methodist Church is also going in that direction. But you know, I was trying to find the picture while you were speaking, and I can't find it. But I have a photograph that I took with a gentleman who is a transgender brother in the Catholic Church. I could not believe what I saw that week. I saw trans
Yeah.
people, but also I saw still a lot of ignorance. And I was very happy that I was able to be there to help guide a little bit. Because one of the things that when somebody asked the question, well, what is being done about the parents? And I said, what is being done about the parents? I mean, truly, you don't need me to tell you how to love your child. Whether the child is trans or not, you don't need me to. There's the love that you have for your child doesn't change form because your child is an architect or because your child is transgender. The love that you have for your child is the same. Now,
In
you need to
theory,
become, yes, well, yeah, exactly. And then I said, and now, of course, the love changes because the love you have for a baby is not the same for a toddler. It's not the same thing. I mean, and then love as an action word is what I'm talking about. Love
yeah,
as a verb, yes. As a 26-year-old, my child's love that she needs from me now is less because she's a full-blown human, right? Working, she's traveling, as opposed to when she was 12. So that's what I mean by love as an action word. So you don't need anyone to tell you how to do that. If you want to stay in this space where I need to understand before I support, that's the problem. Because the truth is, many trans people at the age of 2, they don't understand. They
gender.
just know that inside of them, their gender identity doesn't match what the parents are telling them that they are.
Yeah.
They don't understand that. So if you as a parent are over here saying, well, I just have to understand it first, you're just making excuses because sometimes the kids don't understand. And so making room for that, why don't you just lean in and just say, let me love you as you are, and then let you tell me how I can help you blossom. To me, that's what I want parents to say. That's the line I want them to say. Let me help.
Mm.
How can I help you? What do you want from me? Because
I
one
think,
child might want you to paint the house rainbows, the other child might want you to tell no one. Go ahead.
no, I love what you're saying. And I think that it ties in with um, a style of parenting where you let the child lead.
That's my third TED talk.
I
Let the
know
children
you
lead. That's
have
my
some
third TED talk.
amazing
Yeah.
tech talks. I know, I know. I've watched all of them. And
Thank
one of the
you.
things that surfaced in the UK election is that people claimed that gender was an ideology, especially the gender spectrum, but they didn't realize that the binary model of gender is also an ideology.
I was waiting for you to say that. Yes, I was waiting to say that. See, that's the problem with blanket statements. Because when you make
Yeah,
a blanket statement, then it stays as such. So if gender is an ideology, then what are we fighting about?
yeah, I agree.
What are we fighting about? So why don't we just all go out and just have a drink, right? And I actually, it's funny you said that. It came up at the conference. One of the trans people there was PISS because how dare them say gender as an ideology? I said, why not? Lean into what that says. Gender is an ideology, is the sentence. That means all the things in gender, including the binary. Because you can't now come and say, well, yeah, it's gender, but only gender diversity. No.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the point. And that's what I'd
Yeah.
like to reflect back to the politicians, especially those who pry on people's gender identity almost as a token to gain more votes, which I think is disgusting in itself, especially when it's based on hate.
Yeah.
Because as you rightly said before, babies are trained into the gender model that their parents believe in from birth. And I saw it myself, because I don't know why. I've always had more of an open mind about gender. And I remember very clearly one of my sons wanting to put my earrings on when he was an 18 months old, or a toddler. And I had no issue with that. Their dads, on the other hand, made a beeline, took it away from them. And it's almost because they were, and I believe that's what the real hate is about. The real hate is because they're not secure in their own gender identity. So when someone presents with a different gender identity, they feel threatened.
Threatened, yes, they feel threatened.
Especially
Sadly
because of
so.
the masculine toxicity that you mentioned earlier.
There's a study that was, I don't know if you're German, but there's a study that was done in Germany. It's actually made it to my book. The chapter that I talk about toxic masculinity is we talked about that. There's a study that was done in Germany on, I think, 134 fathers, and they were asking them about their how they would respond if their child said that the child was gay. And what they found out was that the fathers whose children said they're lesbians were more accepting than the fathers whose sons were gay.
Mm.
The fathers whose daughters said they were lesbians were more likely to be affirming than the fathers whose sons said they were gay. So the fear is that, oh, because your son is maybe a little feminine or more feminine than you are comfortable with, somehow that's going to rob you of your own masculinity. But really, me taking a slice of my pie truly doesn't affect that there's enough slices of pies. So they need to do their work. They need to do their own work and figure out, what is it about masculinity? And I give an example in the book. I talk about Dwayne Wade, who is a basketball player, full-blown 6'5", 6'7", I think it's 6'7", 6'7" basketball player, man as it gets, supporting his transgender daughter. That did not take anything from his, if anything at all. To me, he's that much more of a man. Because if you want to be the leader of the household, as you claim to be, then nothing should be threatening you, bro.
So you mentioned the word gay, which I just want to do a very quick clarification, because that's different from gender, the sexual orientation, for the people who might not understand that. So that's
yeah, but it does, but it obviously is a sexual orientation. But what are most gay men that we know? They're feminine, they're effeminate. So yes, even though it's a sexuality, one of the things that is prominent about them is their femininity. So yes, it is
some of them, not all of them, actually.
I know that. I know that.
It's a stereotype, I would say.
Well, and that's true. But I'm talking about the study. I'm not talking about me. I'm saying the study. That's what the study said. And people can look it up. That's what the results of the study said. And that's what the study people concluded, that because they were threatened by their sons being more effeminate, being with another man. I mean, the truth is, even in the relationships, they tend to be maybe one of them who is more effeminate than the other. The fathers don't want that. African American men specifically have a problem with their son being gay. As a matter of fact, the moms of one of the parents that I work with said that all she wanted to know was, is a son a top or a bottom? This is how ingrained this thing is. They don't want any form of femininity in their sons. So going back to whether it's a stereotype or not, we're talking about reality when it comes to action, because that everything is a stereotype. Gender being an ideology is not a stereotype. But people are losing their lives, and people are being kicked away from home because of that. And so most gay men will now do things in their power to act more macho, more, masculine, more, all the things, when they're really not. So I'm
so
not
that they
talking
feel
about,
safe.
Yes, and
Yeah,
for
for
safety,
their
it's
own
always about
safety.
safety. Exactly. Going
Mm.
back to Next Benedict, I mentioned her name and their name. I said the only reason Next Benedict is currently on live is because Next Benedict said, I am non-binary and declared their stand, which I wish they were allowed to flourish because that's brave. But as a result, they became a victim of people who wanted to unlive them and bully them. So I'm just saying it's all connected. There's no way I'm going to sit here and make an absolute statement because we already ascertained that we're all different. And my father said I have masculine traits, and I don't think I do, but my father says I do. So is that a stereotype? Is that what my father sees? He's entitled to his opinion. But the truth is their lives are at stake because people just don't want them. This is why trans women are the ones that are usually the victims of killing and hatred and violence. Why not trans men? Now, there are trans men, don't get me wrong, but why is the majority trans women? Coming back to toxic masculinity, men can't stand it when other men are effeminate. I mean, let's just face it, that's the fact. Even if it's not 200% of them, enough of them are that way. So Black transgender women specifically have the highest rate of homicides. This past week, we had 2 white transgender teens who were trans feminine, at least we could see from their pictures. So I'm just saying, it is what it is. Toxic masculinity is a bad thing.
I think that if there was less misogyny in the world, probably trans people would be a lot safer. Yeah, I agree. I want to finish this interview with one thing that I became aware as an ally. That I had no idea about. And that was thanks to what happened during the election and some campaigns. And I actually donate to an organization that promotes pink news to bring more awareness. And I didn't know, and it broke my heart. The immigration system, especially in the UK, is discriminates against the LGBT community because the model that they promote to be able to bring your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend in, or your significant partner, is based on a binary model where you have to have joint bank accounts, all sorts of things that are completely ingrained in that culture. And that broke my heart because very often
Christian model,
and it broke my heart because it's actually probably, I'm not saying it's only, but a lot of LGBT people need to move to other countries because they're not safe in their own countries, and yet they're discriminated more by the immigration system. And I thought this needs to change.
I love that for you. I love that you, obviously, as an immigrant, I've already known that. And also because I'm African, I know about what happens in the immigration camps in Kenya, and they just raid there and just rape them and sodomize them. And it's so bad. So bad. Again, I mean, look, this thing that we're talking about is so deep. Misogyny, patriarchy, toxic masculinity, however you want to look at it. The fact that men tell women who are lesbians, you just haven't had the right DICK, tells you the depth of their thought process. Oh, when you have the right DICK, you will not love women anymore. Forgetting that when it comes to love for women, we're over here, right? Relationships, we are over here while they're down here. And women are just bothered differently. This morning, I spoke to 2 different women that I met on a dating site. It was a relief, I mean, talking to them. It was beautiful. Just talking to them because here are people who get it. So you can bring the biggest DICK if you like. After a while, ED sets in. It's no longer important. Can I have a conversation with you? Can you stimulate my mind? Because I'm sapiosexual. And this is me talking about myself and my own personal experience. So yes, to the fact that this whole patriarchal system has always been there. They've always discriminated against LGBT immigrants. They've always, so a lot of people come in pretending to be straight. They get married to the opposite sex and they live in a loveless marriage and all the things, all the things, all the things.
Mm. I just wanted to drop that in because I think the more cis straight people understand the challenges of LGBT community, the more we can be better allies and be vocal about this and want this to change, understand the challenges. So Dr. Lulu, I want to thank you so much. Yes.
Sorry, let me add, especially since the next LGBT person might be your child. This is for the cis people who think that, oh, I'm straight, so I'm good. What if it's your child? What if it's your sibling? What if it's your spouse? I met my friend Holly a few months ago. Holly came out as transgender after 39 years of being married to her wife. And Holly said to me, I've known that I'm trans since I was 5. But Holly is, I don't know, 6'2", 6'3", living as a man for that many years and unhappy. So the truth is that the LGBT person might even be your spouse. This is not like.
I think it's not a big stretch to say that everybody knows an LGBT person in their close circle. They might not know it that they are, but they know them.
Yes.
And they might love them as well.
Yes, I love that concept because the truth is, even if we're not all on the spectrum somewhere, the truth is the only way you can know someone is LGBT is if they invite you in to their world, right? And so a lot of them are hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. And also that trust needs to be earned.
Ooh,
they don't owe you anything.
Yeah, exactly. But to be invited in.
That's why I like your choice of words.
You have to earn the invitation. And honestly, let me tell you, this conversation that we had is the kind of thing that we should normalize. It shouldn't only be on podcasts. It shouldn't only be on podcasts. It should be conversations at the water cooler.
Yeah. And in schools, which sadly is gone backwards in the UK. They don't think that we should talk about that at all. I know.
Keep thinking about UK. America is worse. I didn't want to say anything because I was like, let's talk. America is worse. And we don't know who's going to win the next election. So it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, we can all progress the needle just a little bit in our own world by having these conversations. So thank you so much, Dr. Lulu, for your time. I know your time is very precious. So all the more grateful that you agreed to have this second conversation with me. I will let everyone know, well, obviously, if you're watching this, it's on YouTube. Thank you for everyone who's been watching. Please share widely so these conversations can be had amongst everyone to progress the discussion, especially in spiritual and religious circles, if you can.
Yes. And I will let you know about the next time I'm speaking about, I'm really like, as a matter of fact, you know what? A bunch of the people that attended the talk, we're going to get together and write a book.
Wow. That's amazing.
We're going to do an anthology. Yes, the Queer Catholic. I mean, hello. Thank you to me. I'm so proud of myself. Yes.
That's amazing. Oh, it brings me so much joy. So thank you, everyone. Thank you particularly to you, Dr. Lulu, and we'll be coming back soon. Bye for now.
Bye.